In 2018, there was an outbreak of attacks on livestock, chicken, sheep, goats, anything that lived. My small holding was constantly attacked, but that wasn't what made me hunt the werewolf. Yes, it was a great loss, and yes, it was a danger to the entire community. What made my blood boil was that this beast actually attacked my family. Early Friday morning, the 16th of November, I headed out to the pens to feed the livestock. I smelt the rot in the air before I saw the blood. The mangled remains of a cow lay scattered like a puzzle, pieces ripped apart, intestines dragging through the mud. Townsfolk had warned me, told me this beast was unlike any other. But I'd hunted wolves before. I'd trapped them, killed them, skinned them. This wasn't my first job. It wasn't even my most dangerous one, so I thought. But when I crouched next to the torn carcass, I knew something was wrong. The bite marks weren't from any ordinary wolf. Too large, too deep. Whatever made them had jaws like iron and an appetite for more. "I told you," a voice said from behind me. It was Herrick, an old friend in our neighborhood. His face was as weathered as the mountains that surrounded the small community of North Carolina. His eyes sunken, hollow. It reflected the fear of a man who had already buried too many of his own. "This is no regular wolf, Hunter. It's a monster." All my friends called me Hunter because I always hunted wolves. I rose to my feet, scanning the tree line. Everything was so quiet. No bird song, no rustle of leaves, just the silence. "This has been going on for far too long," I said. 3 months now," Herrick said, his voice trembling. "First, the animals, then the people. It takes them at night, always when the moon is full. We're cursed, I tell you." I didn't believe in curses, but I believed in what I saw, the shredded cow and the panicked eyes of our community. "We need to do something about this," I said, "before another one of our own gets hurt." Herrick nodded in agreement and walked off, leaving me alone with my mutilated livestock. One Saturday night, I was in the living room watching TV. My wife Rachel and 12-year-old daughter Wendy were in the kitchen preparing dinner. Chase, my 6-year-old son, was on the floor in the living room playing with his electric train. After dinner, Rachel put the kids to bed. We watched TV for an hour or so, then headed to bed. I turned out the lights, locked the doors, and headed to bed. It was around 2:30 that morning when a blood-curdling scream woke me from a deep sleep. I threw back the duvet and ran to my daughter's room. Her window was shattered and a hairy monstrosity was halfway through the broken window, its claws lashing out at Wendy. Blood was streaming down her face and onto her sheets. I grabbed Wendy and slammed her door shut as I ran out. When I returned with my rifle, the beast was gone. Rachel was up and in a panic. Chase was screaming when he saw his sister's face. It was chaotic. Rachel grabbed the first aid kit and attended to Wendy's injuries while I checked every window to see if there was any sign of the werewolf. "This is the last straw," I said to Wendy. "Tomorrow I am hunting that creature and I will kill it." "It's too dangerous, Hunter," she said. "What if it gets you first?" "I can't just sit here, babe. I have to do something." Early the next morning, I walked into the mountains. The plan was simple enough. Set a trap in the valley where the beast had been spotted last and bait it with fresh meat. Wolves are creatures of habit. They circle, stalk, and strike when the prey feels safe. And so I'd let it believe it had the upper hand. Let it come to me. But as it grew darker, I felt very uneasy. I had set up camp just outside the trap, my rifle ready and loaded. The wind carried the faint scent of pine and damp earth, but beneath it, something else, something feral. The beast was close. Hours later, I heard a howl. It was far too close for comfort. I tensed, my fingers tightening around the rifle. The sound wasn't like any wolf I'd ever heard. It was deeper, almost like the rumble of a distant storm. I scanned the tree line, searching for movement, for the glint of eyes reflecting in the moonlight. A shadow moved between the trees. It was massive and too large to be a wolf. My pulse quickened and I breathed shallow. Slowly I raised the rifle, taking aim as it stepped into the clearing. It was even bigger than I had imagined. Muscles rippled beneath its matted fur. The beast sniffed the air, its snout twitching as it scented the bait. But then it did something strange. It stopped, lifted its head, turning slowly. It spotted me and locked its eyes on me. It had known all along. I fired, the bullet slicing through the night. But the beast was incredibly fast. It dodged the shot, its eyes narrowing with deadly intent. I cursed under my breath and bolted for the trap. I had set up a backup, another line of defense in case the first failed. Silver-tipped spikes hidden beneath the leaves. But as I sprinted through the woods, the sound of crashing footsteps followed me. The creature was close, too close. My heart pounded in my chest, the thrill of the hunt twisting into fear. I made it to the trap, sliding into place and readying another shot. The beast burst into the clearing, barreling toward me with terrifying speed. But this time it didn't stop. It charged headfirst into the trap, the spikes shooting up from the ground. The silver pierced its flesh, a deep roar shaking the air. I smiled, thinking I had won. Then it stood. The spikes that should have torn it apart barely slowed it down. The creature growled and pulled itself free, dark blood dripping from its wounds, but not enough. I backed away, realizing too late that I had underestimated it. This wasn't just a werewolf. It was something older, something much more dangerous. I stumbled, firing my last shot. The bullet grazed the beast's shoulder barely enough to slow it down. Panic surged through me. I turned and ran, my boots slamming against the damp earth, my breath ragged in my throat. But the thing was faster and smarter. The hunter had become the hunted. I reached the edge of the village, the houses dark and silent. There was no one left to help. I slammed the door of the nearest house shut, barricading it with whatever I could find. My hands trembled as I tried to reload the rifle, but my mind was racing. This wasn't a battle I could win with brute force. The creature circled outside, its growls vibrating through the walls. It was toying with me now, savoring the fear that dripped from my skin. I crouched in the corner, heart pounding, trying to think. I had one chance left, one trap I hadn't set. A desperate idea formed in my mind. A bullet wasn't enough to kill this thing, but fire might. I grabbed the oil lamp from the table, smashing it against the floor. Flames erupted, spreading quickly. I waited, the heat closing in around me. And then, with a crash, the beast broke through the door, its eyes glowing with rage. I threw the burning oil at it, and the flames caught its fur. The creature howled in agony, thrashing as the fire consumed it. I didn't wait to see if it died. I bolted through the back door, the fire spreading behind me, turning the night into a hellish inferno. As I stumbled into the safety of the forest, I glanced back at the burning village. The werewolf's screams echoed in the distance, but I wasn't sure if it was truly gone. I only knew one thing: next time, I'd be the one watching from the shadows.